As we mentioned at the head of the show, and I'm sure anybody in this city that follows the sports world knows what we're going to talk about here. I know we got to be a little patient, but we're going to go into our Seattle Mariners now, who they continued their long homestand to finish out the regular season, starting with the Texas Rangers here. September 27th versus the Rangers, a brutal 5-0 loss. Obviously, anytime we get shut out, we're not giving anybody a gold star. It's like when you were in grade school and they'd put your card in like the red and you were in timeout or some stuff. September 28th versus the Rangers, though, a 3-1 bounce back win. Player of the game, designated hitter Eugenio Suarez. So I believe this is the second game that Gino was back. Gino has a 3-for-3 night, so a perfect night, 1 RBI and a walk. Helps drive in some of the 3 runs that the Mariners scored in the bottom of the first inning. That was the only runs that Seattle would score, and that would highlight our offensive inconsistency. Mm-hmm. And then September 29th versus the Rangers, a 10-9 win in 11 innings. This was a pretty wild game. Seattle would cut their magic number to make the playoffs down to 1 with this walk-off win as J.P. Crawford slaps a liner right at third baseman Josh Young. Player of the game number 1, Mitch Haniger, 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 RBIs, a multi-homer game for Mitch there. His homer to deep center field at, I believe it was 442 feet, is the longest homer at T-Mobile Park this season. And then number 2, Jared Kelenic, the 2 outfielders, both with multi-homer games. Jared going 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 RBIs. It's his second career multi-homer game. And this was a pretty wild one. I mean, just going over everything with this one. I believe you were on site for this. Sorry. They cut it down to 1, and I'm like, oh, shoot. This sets up the Friday potential clinch date. It would have been Thursday if you had swept the Rangers, but with that 27th loss, the closest they would have to do is Friday. And to set the stage for you, September 30th was Fan Appreciation Day. It's a Friday. They're wearing the Northwest green. Sold out crowd. I mean, I can't say enough about it, right? And so we go over to the Athletics series, September 30th versus the Oakland Athletics, a 2-1 win. The win would clinch the Mariners' first postseason berth in 21 years. Player of the game, there can't be anybody but Cal Raleigh. Raleigh comes in to pinch hit in the bottom of the ninth. It's like, I don't know if you ever did this, but when you're a child, you sit there in the backyard or whatever yard you got, or you're at the field at the park, and you come up with these scenarios. It's bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, it's a full count. Same exact thing for Raleigh. Full count, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. I'm thinking, all right, if Cal doesn't do anything here, we're going into extra innings. That's okay. It's a walk-off homer in the bottom of the ninth off of the Hit It Here Cafe, up off the glass. So left no doubt about it, sending Seattle to its first postseason in 21 years. Just an incredible night. I mean, I don't know if it still is apparent, but you might get a little bit of it, but I lost my voice really, really poorly due to Friday. Had some champagne. It was a mess. Had to clean that up. But I just can't say enough about it. I know we got 2 games to go over against Oakland there, but there's the headline. We looked at this a few weeks ago when the postseason odds were at 99.9%. I was feeling good. I have the screen capture where I'm sitting there smiling at you about it, and it's finally happened. So this was just the goal for the longest time, was to get this out of the way. It's like the boogeyman. You get him out of the way, and now you can achieve things. I know Mitch Haniger said it best. This was one goal, not the goal. Obviously, the goal is to win the World Series. That's dependent on your offensive consistency, in my opinion. But just to get it done is amazing. Just to have people, on the concourse just embrace each other. There was a guy running around shirtless. Just so much emotion. and just relief that it finally happened, and that was the thing about this ride was obviously last year was a lot of fun, but you're playing with like a ragtag team. You weren't quite there with your roster. No Julio, no Gino, no Luis Castillo. And now this year you look at
Mhm.
those guys, you've got that talent, you've got that roster, and they clinched it technically. And Julio's still on the IL, supposed to come back
Mhm.
today, by the way. Um, just I don't know. I think I want to do a piece with some of our Converge Media family and Circling Seattle Sports family on what ending the drought means. I know talk about the Big O, big Mariners fan. Talked about working at the ballpark. Before
Yeah.
a lot of this success with Converge selling peanuts. So I want to get that done, get that worked on, but just pretty special, pretty damn special. Still, the opportunity that the Mariners can host some playoff games here at T-Mobile Park in the wild card round. But we've with that being, I think that's a good segue actually to the rest of the series and why
Mhm.
that's getting closer. But Bel was there, press box and locker room for this celebration. So I gotta hand it off to you. I gotta hear what this was like, and on the field when they were on the field, whether it was Scott's voice crack, opening with calling. I think when he came
He
back out
called
on the field, he
Cal.
just simply said "big dumper." That's all he said in the beginning. Just take us through what you saw and the emotions of probably one of the best nights of my life.
I mean, just even starting with the beginning of the night and being in the press box, it sounded a lot more electric. You could hear every clap. You could hear everyone in the audience participating in everything, and it was just awesome. Cal came to bat, and there was some. I was nervous and I was anxious, but I was also kind of relaxed because I knew that Cal has lived up to some big moments here, and I I really did feel like he could do it. And so when Kate from Lookout Landing, we rejoiced in the moment together. She had asked Kelly from the press box actually before the game if we knew cheering wasn't allowed in the press box, but she asked if we could cry, if that was okay. So tears definitely. I remember just like watching the ball, as you said, just go way far, and all I could do was just hold on to her arm like this is the moment, it's happening. And then we both just started tearing up. So I can only imagine what it was for you.
Oh, I mean,
You've
I've
been
got it
a
here somewhere. We
lifelong
can figure
Mariner.
this out. If you give me some time, I can pull the video up. I'll work
Oh
on that right now.
goodness. All right. Yeah, so it was a big moment. I was completely unprepared, I will be honest. Kate and I went downstairs. We knew that we were about to possibly get some interviews from these guys who were celebrating, but we waited there for a couple minutes and they were in the clubhouse, and all you hear is pop, 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 and cheering because they were spraying champagne on each other. And it was chaotic, but in a good way. It was nice to see them celebrating this big moment. Nobody was free of champagne. If you were dry in the clubhouse, somebody was for sure going to come make sure to get you sprayed. So yeah, it was exciting, and it was exciting to see them all just celebrate this with each other. So yeah, definitely enjoyed the moment.
It was funny to see. I it's not an MP4 file, so I can't show it. But it's on social media, so I'll make sure to reshare it. But and I'm glad I brought a really old camcorder to record it because sometimes the how loud the building gets doesn't translate as well on the
Right.
phone. You can catch it a little bit there, and it was pretty amazing. My mom actually got the entirety of the walk. You can see Cal do it. Just it was
Love
pretty
it.
special to have my parents there too, just because of my dad
Yeah.
instilling the love of baseball and just because he's got this thing where some people who have been watching baseball for a long time just know as soon as the ball hits a bat that it's gone. He knew instantly. He knew.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
it was yeah, I just just the emotion of everything and just kind of the relief. The Sunday Times, Seattle Times paper has a, commemorative, uh, like a poster, but it's just, part of the paper. And it says
Yeah.
"Drought Dumper." So Live Lions, one of our photographers brought one of those down, so I gotta get that framed, and we'll keep that. But, yeah, I mean, so we're gonna get as much as my money can prevail, and if, anybody with that knows me wants me to get one for him, just Venmo me or whatever. But we're
Mhm.
gonna get all these goddamn playoff shirts. There's gonna be merch around this building. There's gonna be merch around CSS and Converge. So we'll deal with that. But yeah, I just one of the happier nights of my life. Just the atmosphere of that. That's what sports are about. That's what you live for. We
Yeah,
talked about this before. I've made fun of Nick Licata, a former Seattle Council member who said sports have no cultural value. You drop someone inside of that ballpark on Friday and tell me that. Tell me that.
definitely.
So,
And I mean, for some people, they might think that this is it, right? We're going to the playoffs, that's it. But what are we still playing for?
yes, okay. Good thing getting me on track. I'd sit there and get too sentimental. So we'll look at the remaining Oakland series here. So, well, first of all, after you've clinched, now you're still in the race for the first overall wild card spot. There's still things that need to be done there in terms of if Seattle wants to be able to host wild cards games this upcoming weekend, the 7th through possibly the 9th. So all of the wild card spots are filled up, whether it's the three teams are obviously Seattle, Toronto, and then Tampa Bay. All of those teams have secured a wild card spot. So the first overall wild card team will host at minimum 2 games, possibly 3, depending on how the series goes. Best of 3. But the second overall wild card goes to play the first wild card team, and the last wild card team goes to play Cleveland in Cleveland. So if the Mariners want that first overall wild card, they need to. This is from last night. Toronto needs to go 1-2 and Seattle 4-0, or Toronto needs to go 0-3 and Seattle 3-1 or 4-0. If Seattle goes 3-1, the worst possible seeding that they will have is the second overall wild card. So you need to do really good here against the Detroit Tigers, the 6th worst team by record in Major League Baseball. Just to look at the remaining schedule for those 3 wildcard teams, obviously Detroit's going to come here for 4 games, 2 of them being played tomorrow on Tuesday. Toronto goes to Baltimore for 3, which Baltimore just eliminated, but they've got a really good ball club, and it would be nice for them to play some spoiler. And Tampa Bay goes to Boston. Now, Boston just got humiliated by Toronto. So I'm sure Boston doesn't want to continue that trend. So just so you know, basically, we need Toronto can't win more than 1 game over the next 3, and Seattle needs to probably win out if they want to host games at T-Mobile Park. So there is that. But we'll recap you on the rest of the Oakland series. October 1st, following that magical night versus the Athletics, a 5-1 win as pitcher Luis Castillo is our player of the game. 6 innings pitched, only 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, and 8 strikeouts on the day. And then October 2nd, really an ugly showing against the Athletics on Sunday, a 10-3 loss. Player of the game left fielder Jesse Winker, 1 hit, 1 run, 3 RBIs, and a walk. Winker's 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th gives Seattle its only runs, and I would really like for Winker to be able to turn things on as the rest of the season and postseason continues on. But overall, I mean, this is all you need to care about. That's great. But as Bel mentioned, it's a relief to get in, but at its potential, at its strength, at even 3/4 of their strength, the Mariners are a dangerous team because of their pitching and their defense. What the main variable, pardon me, wrong word, is their offense. We look at these past week of games, we see 0 runs in game 1 against the Rangers, 3 against the Rangers in game 2, 10 in game 3, 2 against the Athletics, 5, 3. You're not getting enough from your offense. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez is out. Cal Raleigh is still playing. That's the thing, is Cal Raleigh's playing through an injury, and he hit that walk-off. Mitch Haniger had a really down September. So you need guys to be able to find that switch and turn things on. Having Julio back, I'm sure, will help. I can only imagine what Julio will do in his first postseason. But your offensive consistency is something we've preached since May. We've talked about this since May. So that's still an issue. And that's whether that's a coaching thing, whether that's players not being able to be coached, the marine layer, the shift, all of that sort of thing. It's if you want to be able to play, because I'll tell you this, I don't know if I talked to you about it or someone else, but we look at the American League playoff pool. The only team that I'm really for sure worried about, the only team I'm really quivering in my boots about is Houston, because you played Houston horribly this year. The Yankees, you beat the Yankees in the 2 series. You played them this year. Tampa Bay, you played them early on in the season, and you played them poorly, but that's early on in the season before you started to click. Toronto, you beat Toronto here. Cleveland, you played pretty well. Let's see, am I missing anybody else? Nope. New York, Houston, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Toronto. Yeah. So we'll get to players of the game here. I went with Mitch Haniger, who famously last offseason said, let's end this expletive drought. And so he's done that. I know he mentioned he had a bad September, but the past week was pretty solid. 18 plate appearances, 6 hits, 3 runs, 1 double, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 13 total bases, 2 free trips to first base with 2 walks, 333 batting average, a 381 on base percentage, a 722 slugging, and a 1.103 OPS. As I mentioned, with Haniger, slow September till the end there in these past 7 days, you're going to need him because we know what kind of offense he can bring. So I need you to be able to find some consistency, find some rhythm, because a lot of the time Mitch has talked about how he loves being here, how he wants to end that drought, and they've done that now. So it's like, all right, let's keep it rolling. Right. You went with Mr. Gilbert and his goatee. I do not blame you, but let's talk about the decision after an incredible outing on that September 30th start.
Right. And it really was just his composure in that game because it was such a huge game. They were trying to clinch a playoff berth. And I remember thinking in that game that I was actually hoping that Baltimore won because I definitely wanted just the clinching of the playoff berth to be in the Mariners' hands. But Gilbert did a great job. I don't think I've seen many times that I've been in the press box pitchers be in for 8 innings. So he pitched 8 innings, had 3 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and just a quality start. He gave up 1 scoring run early, but after that just completely shut them out. And yeah, I think he did great. And like I said, in such a big game that would clinch a playoff berth. So that's why I went with what I'm calling him Goatee Gilbert.
I think it works. I don't know how long he'll keep it, but I think
works for now.
Yeah, I think it works for now. Kind of starting to look, he's doing his best Randy Johnson impression, and I'm not going to be mad at that. So I respect that choice. That's a really solid choice. So we'll look over to some injury-related news. Oh boy, Kraken stuff's happening on my email. Need that to stop until we get to that section. On the 27th, the team reinstated Eugenio Suarez from the 10-day injured list as a corresponding move. Outfielder Taylor Trammell was optioned to AAA Tacoma. On the 29th, it was said that Julio Rodriguez should be ready at the end of his 10-day IL stint, which is today. He's been taking swings and doing other exercises. Yesterday, Scott Service said that they hope to and plan to have him in the lineup today. So hoping things all go well there for Julio to return, because obviously we're going to need him as the rest of the season goes on. Some team-related news here as we look towards the minor leagues of the franchise. The organization announced on the 29th their end-of-the-year minor league awards. So there's quite a bit of a list here, so we'll do what we can. The Ken Griffey Jr. minor league hitter of the year is infielder Robert Perez Jr. The Jamie Moyer minor league pitcher of the year is right-handed pitcher Taylor Dollard. The Alvin Davis Mr. Mariner Award goes to catcher Harry Ford, who is pictured on your screen here. Ford, who is just 19, the 12th overall pick in last year's draft, not this current year, received the Alvin Davis Mr. Mariner Award for his exemplary play and leadership skills both on and off the field this season. I'll say really quickly, you're going to want to remember the name Harry Ford, not the actor, but Harry Ford. When they drafted him, his listed positions, just take this in: catcher, okay, and center field. That's very different. He's got a really great skill set, a lot of talent, a lot of power, but also a lot of speed. So keep your eye out for Harry Ford, please. We'll get back to it. The Edgar Martinez Dominate the Zone Hitter Award goes to outfielder Jack Larson and outfielder Cade Marlowe. Larson, a 27-year-old, received the Martinez Dominate the Hitter Award. Dominate the Zone Hitter Award for the second consecutive season after being recognized as one of the best hitters in the organization that embodied the control the zone philosophy, instilling a team approach at the plate instead of an individual approach. The Dominate the Zone Pitcher Award goes to right-handed pitcher Isaiah Campbell. The Dan Wilson Minor League Community Service Award goes to infielder Trent Tingelstad. Tingelstad, a 24-year-old, was honored for his individual effort in the Everett community over the course of the past season. He teamed up with the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County with their badges for baseball clinic this past summer. The camp created safe opportunities for youth in need to develop valuable life skills, build character, and learn how to make choices for their future. The Dave Henderson Award for Minor League Staff Member of the Year goes to AA manager Colin Cowgill. So mouthful there, but I would not be surprised to see some of the guys like Marlowe, Perez, and Harry Ford all up with the big league club at some point down the line. On the 30th, some roster moves were made. Catcher Brian O'Keefe was selected from AAA Tacoma as Kurt Casale was placed on the paternity list. So congratulations to Kurt. And right-handed pitcher Phillips Valdez was designated for assignment. On the 2nd of the month of October, the Mariners promoted Justin Hollander to their executive vice president and general manager of baseball operations. Hollander becomes the 10th general manager in Mariners history. The executive vice president and general manager of baseball operations, Hollander will now be responsible for all aspects of the Mariners baseball operation, while continuing to report to president of baseball operations, Jerry DiPoto. And a quote from DiPoto says, Justin has been an integral part of our baseball ops leadership group and a wonderful partner to me throughout our time together. His passion, intelligence, people skills, and creativity show up every day. Moving forward, the Mariners are simply a better organization with Justin in his role. Hollander is now completing his 6th full year with the Mariners this season, his 3rd since being promoted to vice president and assistant general manager of baseball operations back on January 30th of 2020. Hollander was actually instrumental in the extension of Luis Castillo, and it's really interesting to see this because once DiPoto moved from general manager to president of baseball operations, you kind of wondered who that would be. And just in hearing from Scott Service and Jerry DiPoto, it seemed like Hollander was going to be the guy for a long time, a pretty easy option there. So not mad at any of that. All of it's relatively just like you're just kind of jubilant because of the game on the 30th. You kind of get the boogeyman out of the way. You can stop hearing from your friends who are, fake fans. Oh, they're doing this again this year. All the people, all the fans who couldn't make it through this drought, all the Mariners. It's a year to the day where Kyle Seager played his last game as a Mariner.
Mm-hmm.
A few days ago, I think it was a week ago, actually, Felix Hernandez pitched his last game. So guys like that, all the Mariners who couldn't help end the drought, just really awesome to see that. And I hope that in some capacity, Felix or Kyle Seager get to be a part of that. It would have been nice if we had those home games for sure so they could come out and do first pitches or something, but pretty special. So wrapping that up, the Mariners. Ooh, we're going to get to see this nice playoff logo on the screen here. Looking ahead, the Mariners have an 87-71 record, sitting obviously at second in the AL West. They're currently at second in the AL wild card, 2.5 games behind Toronto for first place, a game and a half ahead of Tampa Bay. So they're for sure scheduled to end out the regular season. October 3rd versus the Tigers at 6:40. That is tonight. Bel Garcia and Matt Bermudez will be on hand for that. October 4th versus the Tigers. This is really odd to me because it's a doubleheader, right? 2 games will be played tomorrow. The only listed time for one of them is 3:10, which is like the middle of the day. Usually you split doubleheaders with a morning game and a night game, right? So that confuses me. We'll figure out how that's all going to go. And then October 5th, the last game of the regular season, is a 1:10 p.m. start. So looking at the wild card, it's going to be this weekend, best of 3, October 7th, 8th, and possibly 9th if needed, versus and or at an AL wildcard team to be determined. If the Mariners have to go to Toronto, the vaccine requirement to enter the country has been lifted, so Robbie Ray can pitch in Toronto. But you're hoping that you can host, obviously. But for sure, playing the 7th and 8th, T-Mobile Park will be hosting watch parties if the Mariners do play on the road, so be on the eye for that. I'm sure I'll be at that if they're on the road. But man, just take a minute, look at that logo. How nice. How sweet. Anyway, you can pause it if you want to.